and he's
Oh
got to be
yeah.
kicking himself. I was saying you need to get the king to c7, and I think he saw some ghosts there. It happens, but he knows looked like he shook his head or made a reaction. That's a
Hmm.
game he expects to win 10 out of 10 times. The
Truly.
only way to
And
mess that up is to allow the knight to sack for both pawns, and that's exactly what happened.
you said it, Eric. You said it already. Time pressure makes fools of all of us. We end up doing things, making decisions we would never make under normal circumstances. That's why this is speed chess, right? It's a part of the game, and there's no other fathomable situation that Anish Giri does not win that position.
For sure. I'd say talking about the match situation, that type of game, that type of position is what Giri wants. To grind down Nepo, to play solid positions without a lot happening, make it boring, have a small push. Didn't win that game, but game plan wise, very, very successful. So if I'm in his shoes, I'm frustrated, but in terms of like how the game went, happy that I'm the one pushing, I'm the
And
one
sorry,
dictating.
is this Eric? This position in front of us. I'm just trying to count up the pieces here. But it looks like it is this theory. Like, can this be theory?
Yes, yes. I have to assume so, especially this opening.
Hmm.
Yes. Black gets a
They're
bunch
playing
of pawns
fast.
or a piece. They're playing too fast, I think, for it not to be something they're both familiar with.
Wow. And if from such a known opening as well, we have a full extra piece, but it almost looks like an endgame that both of the players have maybe looked at. What is it? One, two, three, four pawns
About to be
for a
five
piece.
pawns potentially, but
Hmm.
the most important pawn for white is the a5 pawn. If
Wow.
white ever wins the a6 pawn, that's a dangerous runner, and you have the extra piece. 5 pawns is a lot, or even 4 pawns, but are they able to push? Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Sometimes five pawns is enough for a rook, Eric. We're talking about just a piece here. Is the value of that a5 pawn is just so high. It's kind of an incredible position.
I was saying the types of positions that Nepo would like to play. This is exactly it. Imbalanced, attacking chances, sharp calculation required, and just a clear game plan. If you win the a6 pawn cleanly, and when I mean clean, it means you win a6 and rook a8 doesn't hurt you. Because the
Hmm.
one thing you can't afford is to lose your a5 pawn. If all the pawns are on the same side of the board, even if you're up a piece for 3 pawns, the 3 pawns should be fine. You need to retain passed pawns and as many pawns as possible, because in the long run, when you have a piece for 3 pawns, you're like, I have more pieces than you. I'm going to use that extra piece and overwhelm and pick off some pawns. Well, you need pawns on your side of the board remaining, because 2 pieces versus 1 piece, just an endgame. That's a draw, generally
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah, this knight c5 move, you want to win that pawn, but as you're pointing out, rook a8 is always available. I have no clue how to make perfect sense of this position, but that's why it's so intriguing, and probably why both players are fine being here. Because if the evaluation is somewhere around equal, it just means that if you kind of understand the position better from either side, you have a chance to outplay and win. Like, uh, being 4 pawns, maybe 5 pawns down, it's easy to get overwhelmed. One mistake, Eric, and suddenly those pawns are connecting, they're running down the board. And similarly, if you lose that a pawn cleanly, it could just all end.
I agree with that. I will say, it might say it's very balanced. I prefer white's position. Just white's potential to me is higher than black's potential. And that's referring to either winning the a6 pawn or coordinating your pieces that you can target the c5 pawn and then maybe get to the king. I prefer white a little bit. Just the win condition seems easier than black's. But when you have a bunch of pieces for a pawn, you need that pawn avalanche. Activate
Mhm.
those pawns, push those pawns, grab space. That involves playing like f5, g5, e4. Anish is almost ready to play that, but we see positions here. Can't quite do it yet. There's rook takes c7 check. Again, you lose the a6 pawn cleanly, and that's probably the game. So,
Anish
whereas
is like a
white can lose
shark,
h3, and those ideas are still retained.
a shark
And
in
I
the
don't think,
water here.
yeah,
He's gone down to, you know, it's gone down to sea level here. He's really calculating this one out. I expect something, to come out of this thing here, guys.
well, actually, he's playing from the Netherlands, Zaman, so that's below sea level.
That's right.
They have to build things to prevent the flooding.
That's right. Yeah, it seems that he's temporarily gone under, and he'll come up for air soon. Deep calculation here, guys.
He's looking for something concrete. You don't want to play this position with constant tension, and that tension is that a6 or c7 is going to fall. Looking to clarify the position, get into some rook endgame that maybe black has activity, black can win the a5 pawn. Again, f5 is a critical move to look at. Doesn't play it yet. Yeah, h4 is good. You don't need to hang that pawn. G5, that is not it.
That is
As long as the a5 pawn is there, now we're looking at an imbalance of 3 pawns, 4 apiece. It used to be 4 with a potential of 5. 3 pawns at the minimum, I prefer white. But now,
So this is what he came up with, by the way, and he's sacrificing the g pawn to play c5 with the idea that you can't win the c pawn without giving up the d file, and there's checkmate threats on d1. But knight f7 played quickly from Jan Nepomniachtchi. We know he's one of the quickest players. How demoralizing, Eric! You spend like 2+ minutes on a calculation, and it's a blunder, and Jan punishes it with the best move immediately.
He spotted it a long time ago, and I think it all revolves around the fact that there's an a pawn. You can go into so many endgames that normally would be fine. Problem is here, you lose that a pawn, and that a5 pawn is going to be a winner. If there wasn't the a pawns, a knight versus a rook, 3 pawns versus 1, that would be fine. Yeah. Black would be able to take. Not possible here because of the rook d6 move as a follow-up. And this is the type of momentum Nepomniachtchi is known for. He gets a position, he sees things quickly, he plays, he notices you start spending your time. That gives him energy. He starts calculating better. And we saw it is demoralizing. You spend 2 minutes and your opponent just plays right away.
10 seconds to almost 4 minutes. This is the biggest time deficit I've ever seen.
Maybe you give a check. Maybe you play knight c6. The bishop can go to b1. Oh, yeah, he's just...
And I think you'd agree, Eric, this is a Nepomniachtchi specialty. Like, when he starts feeling the momentum and knows you're in time pressure and you're missing things, he pounces.
For sure. And it's so important that there's even like this... He wants to place the king on c5 where it's sheltered, so that a pawn doesn't push that easily. If white loses the a pawn, even though white's up a piece, it's not winning. Oh, there's a checkmate threat on h1.
Mm-hmm.
Knight c3 is that trapped?
That with 0.1.
But you can push. You can push, and maybe you can play knight f6. Something concrete's required here.
He's got the time to find it.
Rook h7 to play rook a7. Knight e5 to play knight c6 and a7 and fork the king and the rook.
Exactly.
Something concrete.
And you still have an f pawn there.
You still have the f pawn. 3 minutes and 15 seconds for Nepomniachtchi to find the winning move, and I'm expecting it to be there. Okay. I'm a little surprised by some of the moves, I got to be honest.
Eric, one of the things that I think everyone knows about Jan is that he plays quick no matter what.
You can take and play a7 and knight check and knight here.
Knight b8.
Check.
Exactly.
Check.
He sees it.
Shield. You can take on b4, knight check, shield from the rook. Anish shakes his head, gave Nepomniachtchi that opportunity for that winning time.